This is the iPower iX2205-2500KV race specs motor from iFlightRC.com. They sent it in for review, so thanks iFlightRC for sending this motor for review so we can check it out and share the results for everyone. So this motor is built with some of the latest features as many of the other new motors. As you can see, it's got the hollow steel shaft. It's not completely hollow, so it's only partway hollow, all the way to right about right there. So it does go through the motor bell. So and at the bottom, it's also hollow, but only slightly. It seems like it is threaded. It's got a thread there. So maybe they thought about using a shaft retaining screw at the beginning, but they ended up with the circlip. So you can see they use those hard to remove circlips. So it's pretty well secure there. And there's a brass shim right there. The shaft, as far as the let's see, so the shaft here, I took it apart. The motor shaft itself is 4 millimeters, so that's good. Then that's gonna make it pretty strong. It crashes usually. Some motors, when you crash really hard, they'll shear off right there where the shaft turns from 4 millimeters to 5 millimeters. So there's a stress point right there. So in any really hard crash, when it hits here, you get a shear force right there. That's the main point where the shear force is present, and it'll just shear off. So going to 4 millimeter and leaving that portion, seems like they left that portion, let me see, seems like they left that portion solid. I hope they did that. Let's see. Not quite. I think it. That's too bad. I think it went hollow all the way through there. But still, it would have been better if it wasn't hollow through there. If it was solid and right there. But the 4 millimeter will help. You get more material there, so that's good. There's no, doesn't seem like there's no grub screw for the shaft. So you know, it's probably not easy to service the shaft, but it's pretty well priced. This motor is, I think it's $16. So I mean, if you if you really break the shaft, ruin the shaft, the motor's probably gone. You know, so that's why they're, these types of shaft are actually very difficult to replace. It's not like the old shaft where you could just get the grub screw out and just pull the shaft out. These are pressed in. They have to be pressed in, so it's not easy to remove. The magnets, they do look like they are arc magnets, curved, And per specs on the product page, they say these are N52H magnets. So that's you know, that's keeping up with all the latest features for motors these days. As you can see, there's been dynamically balanced, and I do see quite a good amount of epoxy, uh, like all around. So that's good. You know, there's not gonna be, shouldn't have any issues with magnets getting loose or sliding out. So that's a good thing. Material, they say it's aluminum, so it's probably just the regular aluminum, not the 7075, because they don't mention that. So I'm just gonna say it's standard aluminum. I think it's T6065. I'm not quite sure what the alloy is for the regular aluminum. But if it was 7075, which is a stronger one, I would imagine they would mention that. So with the shaft being 4 millimeters, of course the bearing's gonna be probably 9 millimeters. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, it's 9. So it's 9, probably 4 millimeters thick by 4 in the inner race. And the stator, it is a true 5 millimeter stator, so it's not like other motors, you know, they'll say it's 5, but it's actually like 5.5 or 6 millimeters. So it is 5 millimeter. I counted 25 laminations, so that makes it 0.2 millimeter per lamination. So it's not quite the latest feature where they're using 0.1 or 0.15 millimeters. So that definitely is gonna affect the performance, but not by a lot. I mean, actually, I don't know how much of a performance difference that makes, but it does affect the performance. The thinner laminations on the stators is much better. We're seeing a lot of the new motors that have thinner laminations. They're performing much better. You know, when you combine it with strong magnets that have very tight spacing. You know, when you have them much closer, and also the gap between the magnet and the face of the stator of each tooth. The closer you can get it to the magnets, the better. Of course, you know, then you really have to have very tight tolerances, so you don't have any, you know, you can't have any wobbling, because then it's gonna hit there, you know. So there's some compromises that have to be made, you know, manufacturing. Cost versus super tight tolerances. So overall, the motor feels pretty well made. The machining is pretty good. Color is kind of unique. It's not quite. It's like a rose color. It's not too bad. Again, I really don't mind the colors on the motors. It's the last thing that I mind, as long as they perform. Bearings are supposed to be, they say they're Japanese NMB bearings. So, you know, hopefully those bearings are durable. They feel smooth in all the 4 motors that I got. The wires that are coming out, that come out of the motor, a lot of the manufacturers are providing short wires these days. Some people prefer them to have longer wires, so you know they have more options of how to of the ESCs. So these ones are about, they're about 65 or so millimeters long. What else is it is single strand wire on the windings, and they are saying that these are 0.49 millimeter gauge of the wire. So the motor weight is let's say it's 29.4 grams. So that's in they give you this golden color aluminum lug nuts, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty good. You don't have to worry about buying light lug nuts, and I'm glad to see that they give bullet nuts, and these are pretty light. So barely adds half a gram or so. Yeah, they're like half a gram, so that's pretty good. So the motors come in this box. They come in pairs, and they are both standard thread. They don't use the reverse thread, so that's a good thing. It's just so much easier to not have to worry about where each motor goes, you know, which corner. You just have one type of lug nut. I prefer those, but I mean, if they do come in reverse and standard, oh well, you know, you just get used to it. It's not that much of a deal breaker, but just matter of preference. So anyway, that was the overview of the motor as far as features and build. So now we're gonna go on to the actual thrust test and see how the how this motor performs. Those were the thrust tests for this motor. As we can see, with the 4x4x3 props, the motor does pretty good. 900 grams at 26 amps. That's pretty respectable for 4-inch props. With the 4-blade props, 4-inch,
we're getting 1 kilogram, so that's pretty good. 32 amps, high amps, of course, with the 4 blades. As we move up with the larger props, uh, we start to see the motor getting loaded, and we're seeing amps go up a little bit. So with the 5x4x3 prop, which is a very popular prop, and it's one good prop to compare to other motors, we're getting 1,230 grams, so 1.2 kilograms at about 35.7 amps. That's pretty respectable thrust. Not as high as some of the more premium motors as the Emax, but it's up there. It's not bad. And again, as we go up in prop pitch or blade count, we see that the motor is kind of running out of torque because the thrust is not climbing. The one thing I do want to mention here is that my battery pack was sagging quite a bit. As you can see here, the bolts went down to 14.8. The battery is not able to keep the voltage after a couple of runs. Voltage starts to sag right away, so that does affect the thrust results. This would have been higher thrust because I'm actually missing about a half a bolt here, and that does make a difference. So yeah, if this had been the usual 15.5 to 15.9 or so voltage that I've tested other motors with, yeah, the thrust would have been noticeably higher. So that kind of puts this motor at a disadvantage on the thrust results. So keep that in mind, that you always have to keep an eye on voltage when you're comparing thrust results, because if something like this happens where the power supply is not constant, or it changes, it's either higher or lower voltage, then your max thrust will also change. But overall, yeah, the motor is pretty solidly built, and it does pretty well. It's right up there with the good performers. It's not as powerful as the latest Emax, of course, but it's pretty close. So that was the test results and review for this motor. Hopefully you find the data and the information useful. Thanks for watching, and again, check back soon. I'll have more videos as soon as I get a chance to put the data together and edit the videos. Thanks.